By far, the kind of makeup product that I test out the most is sparkly eyeshadow. In today's video, I'm going to talk about 25 different single shadow formulas that I tried this year that were noteworthy. I think if you've been following me for a little while, you know how much I love sparkly makeup. So what I'm hoping is to tell you about what my experience is with a whole bunch of different formulas. This will be particularly useful for you if you're interested in learning about different single shadow formulas. I've got a wide variety from affordable to more high-end, and what the texture and wear of some of these different products are like. Let's go ahead and get into it. Starting off with Half Magic Beauty, we have the single shadows that came out recently. They've had duochrome shadows for a while, but the ones that I tested out this year that were kind of newer to me are these metallic single shadows that came out around the holidays. There's no emollients to these shades, so if you're someone who was having some creasing with a few of the other duochromes in the line, you won't have that with these, I don't think. With these shades, you'll get a pretty multicolored sparkle, and these are like sparkly toppers. They're not fully opaque, but you could certainly build them up if you want to. And you can see that when I press down into the pan, you don't get an indentation. These have honestly become one of my favorite eyeshadow releases from Half Magic. Next product I have to talk about is the Glitter Puck from Half Magic, and in particular, they came out with a new shade this year. This is Glimmer Pop. I think this shade was a really smart move because honestly, people love champagne, especially champagne one and done type of sparkly shadows. This formula is pretty interesting. It feels almost like wet to the touch. It actually does have moisture in the pan. That's part of why you need to keep the sponge in it. It kind of seals the moisture in. And it's a multi-use product, so you can use it on the eyes, on the lips, on the face, or even as body glitter. You get a ton of product for $29. And I will say you don't get much fallout with this, although I would still use a glitter primer. I think Glimmer Pop is the sparkliest of the three shades, and they're all sparkly, but I want to say it's Glimmer Pop, then Cyber Diamond, then Dopamine Sparkle. Okay, the third product that I've tried from Half Magic is the Sparkle Stick, and they actually came out with new shades this year. They launched last year, but this is one of the newer shades. It's called Noir or Never, and of course it quickly became my favorite because I love dark shades like these. And I love the fact that despite being a shadow stick, they're incredibly sparkly because getting sparkly shadow sticks is not the easiest thing to do if you want something that's high impact. They're pricey at $25, but you can get them on sale a decent number of times throughout the year. Compared to other formulas that I've tried, this one is a bit drier, so it dries down very quickly. You have to work quickly with these, and I wouldn't overblend them because when I blend them, I get quite a bit of fallout. So you can blend a little bit, but maybe not too much. They're particularly great to use for graphic looks and as eyeliner, or as a quick one and done shade all over the lid. Next, from r.e.m. Beauty, we have their pressed single shadow in the shade Fembot. I loved this shade so much. I was probably one of the biggest fans, and you've heard me talk about it a number of times. I don't think they had done pressed single shadows before this shade, but they definitely need to do this again because it's a really great shimmer formula. It's high impact, it's not emollient, it lasts beautifully on the eyelids. If they do more shades like these next year and you're curious about it and on the fence, I do recommend checking them out. Definitely one of my favorite releases that they've done this year. Currently not available, but I'm going to remain optimistic that they're going to do single shadows in the future. Okay, I have a few formulas that I want to talk about from Cbeauty brands, starting off with Juicy. Now, Juicy is known for having very staple day-to-day products that are high quality at an affordable price point, but they dipped into doing some more interesting kind of alt beauty shades this year. They extended the range for their jelly shadow sticks. These are actually multi-use highlighter sticks that have that jelly texture, and this is the shade Iridized Violet, which is my own personal favorite. You don't get any fallout with these shades. This is definitely a more sparkly and opaque one, so one that I personally would use only on the eyes. But these are definitely on the more affordable side for this type of formula. This is the standout shade for me that I've tried from this line. Next formula I'm going to talk about is from Judy Doll, and Judy Doll is another C Beauty brand. Like Juicy, they make a lot of day-to-day neutral staples, and they have a few really great products in particular that are functionally really great dupes for more high-end products. So the shade that I tried on here is G01. My experience with this shade is that it's kind of like a more sparkly and intense version of Urban Decay's Space Cowboy. And added benefit, it's much more affordable. There's a lot of different retailers for Judy Doll, including YesStyle. If you're looking for a shade like Urban Decay's Space Cowboy at a more affordable price point, I recommend it. Okay, and I simply could not mention C Beauty single shadows and not talk about the shadows from Sheen Effect. They've got a lot of very beautiful duochromes and multichromes. I like using these on the lid. Something I do really want to mention is that they do have a bit of an emollient texture. If you get creasing with that type of shade, it's definitely something that I would keep in mind. But I do want to mention that one of my favorite ways of using these shades is as blinding highlighters because they have so many beautiful semi-sheer shades or iridescent shades. This is the shade Night Elves, which is an incredibly glowy blue and my own personal favorite shade. You can get shades like these at Lookhealthystore, at YesStyle, even on TikTok Shop, I want to say. Definitely lots of options. All right, the next formula I want to talk about is from Rituel de Fille. This is the eye gloss. I had tried this formula actually several years ago and then sort of rediscovered it. And I gotta say that since I've rediscovered it, I haven't been able to stop using it. This is the shade Cygnus, which is my own personal favorite. It's a really punchy blue-brown duochrome. I even did a wear test with it, and I found that it had a beautiful wear for 11 hours. The thing is, it will crease. And I do think that you have to enjoy a wet look, kind of lived-in, grungy eye to appreciate this product. I've had some comments in videos where I'm wearing it telling me they either love it or they really hate it. And by that, I mean the way it looks on me. I personally really like the look of this type of product. It doesn't completely dry down, but it doesn't feel sticky or tacky on the lid. I don't know, honestly, I've just never tried anything quite like it. They are pricey at $38, but I've purchased some shades on my own and I would have to have at least one in my collection. That's how much I enjoy using this formula. So if you are intrigued about this formula, I hope that this information helps. The next formula I have is also from Rituel de Fille, and this is their eye soot. This is the shade Obsidian, and it's one of the least sparkly shades that I have, but it's a beautiful kind of intense black one and done shimmer shadow. And if you're a little bit intimidated of trying one of the eye glosses from Rituel de Fille, this might be another good option. Now, in my experience, these don't completely set down either, but they don't crease in the same way that the eye glosses do. Over the past few years that I've had the eye soots, they're definitely a formula that I've come back to again and again. The most sparkly shade that they have is Cultist, which is basically a charcoal shimmer. Really love that one if I'm looking for something with a bit more sparkle. For me, with a lot of the Rituel de Fille products, it's not only the products themselves that I enjoy, but the experience of using them. I love the little glass jars. I love the unique and nuanced shades they have, the interesting formulas. It just always feels like I'm using something a little bit different. All right, the next formula I want to talk about is the shadow sticks from Danessa Myricks. These are the Colorfix sticks. These are one of many kind of jelly shadow sticks that have come out this year, but one of the best versions that I've tried in terms of their intensity. Now, there are some things to keep in mind. One is that you have to buy them as a duo. This duo includes a metallic and a foil. The metallic is less sparkly. In this example, it's the blue shade that's the metallic and the purple shade that's the shimmer. And this is Duo 9, by the way. On me, these set down, they last all day. They're honestly just an easy, effortless way to have an impactful kind of one and done or two and done shadow look. Most reviews that I've heard have said something similar, but if you've had a different experience, definitely let me know in the comments. I think the main issue with these is that they're not sold separately, so that you have to like both shades in the duo in order to like really justify the purchase and have the purchase make sense. But if you do, then I think this product may very well be worth it for you. All right, now I have to mention the Writing Solo Single Shadows from Beauty Creations. I just made a video on these shades, and these are definitely the most high quality, affordable shadows that I've tried. This is the shade Texas Blues, which is my own personal favorite. You get some beautiful kind of magnetic closure packaging. The formula doesn't feel wet or emollient in any way. It's definitely a formula I think is going to work for a lot of people. If you're curious to learn more about these and to see them in action, definitely check out my recent Beauty Creations video. All right, the next formula I tried this year is the Super Shock Shadow, and these have been around for quite some time. I was genuinely impressed with the kind of trios that came out just recently within the past couple of months. These shades are definitely some beautiful neutrals with a twist, especially the shade Boboholic quickly became my favorite because it's a blue-brown duochrome. A lot of people have told me they have genuinely enjoyed this release as well. In case you're curious about this formula, it has almost like a putty-like texture in the pan. I do prefer using them with a glitter primer to minimize fallout. They set down completely, they last all day. The biggest complaint that I've heard is that the product itself can dry out. If you know of any tips that you have to sort of revive these to kind of bring them back from that dried out mode, definitely let us know, because I feel like there's so many people here that probably have the Super Shock shadows. The other formula from ColourPop that I tried this year is their multi-chrome eyeshadow sticks, and recently they made their Winx shades permanent. These are really beautiful and glowy. I would say that a couple of the shades, this one in particular, seems more like a duochrome than a multi-chrome, but you can see how effortless they are to apply. They also make for really pretty eyeliner. Something to know about these is that they are not the sparkliest, but you can see how glowy they look. These retail for $12, which I would say for multi-chrome shadows still falls under the range of more affordable. I do genuinely hope to see that ColourPop expands the chrome range because I think I'm not alone in really enjoying this formula. Another formula that I discovered this year is the Sephora brand mini mix palettes. I haven't tried that many shadows from Sephora brand, but I think I've been sleeping on them. The only problem is that a lot of the products are not permanent. They tend to kind of come and go, but if you are able to try these and you're looking to try kind of intense sparkly shadows on a budget, I think these are really a great value. I got this little palette because I was doing blue-brown duochrome comparisons and I was really impressed. Very sparkly, not emollient, and just genuinely a good product. I don't know if all the mini mix palettes are the same quality, but they might be worth checking out. This is the Boss Berry palette. Okay, the next formula I tried this year is the Urban Decay Moondust shadows, and I'm not new to this formula. I tried several new shades. This is my favorite shade that they came out with. I don't know why it's not available in the US, but if you want to get it, you can get it at Cult Beauty. This is definitely one of the most intense sparkly Moondust shadows that I've tried. I do like some of the shades in this range, but in general, I just wish that the Moondust shadows would sort of evolve. I would love to see more interesting colors, more amped up formulas, just in general, a kind of forward evolution like we're seeing in a lot of other brands. To me, Headliner did feel more interesting, stepped up and special, so I do hope that it becomes widely available in the future. Okay, next formula I want to talk about are these Glaze-On liquid shadows from Urban Decay. These came out earlier in the year. The packaging on these is pretty interesting. You have to shake it up pretty well before using it, and you get this little paintbrush applicator. I think these are pretty, but I honestly sort of feel as though people have sort of forgotten about them. I liked layering them over my powder Moondust shadows, but honestly, I'm not sure how memorable this formula is. For me, the longevity was okay. It wasn't as good as some of my other liquid shadows. It wasn't a bad wear, it just wasn't a great wear. I don't see this product becoming a cult classic like the pressed Moondust shadows. A few people have told me that this product does crease on them. Okay, next we have the Patrick Ta Shadow Duos, and they came out with 4 new shades or maybe 5 new shades this year. I tried a duo when these originally launched. I think I have the one with a gold and sort of white shimmer. I wasn't overly impressed, but I decided to give them another go because this particular duo was definitely kind of calling to me. I especially love sparkly charcoals, and I gotta say I was very impressed with this duo. But it's a little bit disappointing to see that some of the duos are better than others. I don't think you get a consistent kind of experience across the board. So in terms of, shades that I could recommend, for me at this time, it would just be this one. I'll give the same feedback that I did with the Danessa Myricks duos. I hope they offer them as singles in the future. I just think that a lot more people will try them, especially because you won't be locked down to that price point and the 2 shades that come in the duo. A lot of people had recommended to me that I try the Too Faced Disco Crush shadows, so I finally tried those this year. I don't think that these are a new product, but they were new to me. These are definitely very pricey at $30. I gotta say, they are definitely one of the sparkliest single shadow options that are in Sephora. So I think these are good, but I definitely think they're pricey. I think the shade selection for these is a little bit weird. I think gold makes sense, but they don't have charcoal. They don't have a lot of shades that people really enjoy wearing for kind of everyday one and done shadows. I found that when I was trying to pick out a shade, I was actually having a bit of a hard time deciding because of that. From the one shade that I've tried, the formula of these seems nice. They are very impactful and sparkly. They're pricey, but if you are shopping mainstream and looking for some of the sparkliest options out there, these are probably going to be up there near the top. All right, the next formula I'm going to talk about is from Fenty, and it's been a minute since Fenty came out with any eyeshadow products, and these are called the Shadow Sticks Diamonds. I've talked about these in several YouTube videos. I really love Fenty products, especially sparkly products from Fenty. They came out with 3 shades, and in my opinion, they do pack a decent amount of punch. These are a dryer formula. They fully set down from the time that you apply them to the lid. They make beautiful one and done type of shadows, but I also just love applying them sort of as a lid shade paired with a matte. I feel like these weren't very advertised by Fenty. They're a product that I definitely don't hear very many people talking about. They retail for about $25, but definitely one of the more memorable Fenty products that I've tried this year. It is honestly a range I hope they decide to stick around and to expand on. I'm already imagining if they did some deep, grungy, sparkly shimmers. I don't know if that's in the cards for Fenty, but then again, they did come out with the shade Kaboom, the black gloss bomb that I was obsessed with. So anything is possible. All right, I've got 2 formulas to talk about from Diveron, and you all have heard me talk about Diveron so many times. This is the drop highlighter, but it makes for a beautiful highlight and eyeshadow. This shade is the most intense highlighter formula that I've tried, and I'm talking about them in my eyeshadow video because they also make beautiful eyeshadows. And they've become a product type that I just really anticipate and can't wait to see. In this look, you can see I used it as an eyeshadow topper. I can't say enough good things about the highlighters from Diveron. Also from Diveron, we have single shadows. This is the shade Downpour, which is an iridescent, and in the look that I created, I used it as a face highlighter, but this is also one of those shades that can totally be used as an eyeshadow. With the single shadows from Diveron, they have a ton of different formulas. My own favorites are the iridescents and the semi-sheer shades because I do love using them as eyeshadow toppers, but I also love using them as highlighters. Again, if you like intensely sparkly shadows and chrome shifts, then I think that this is a formula to definitely check out. Just know that there is a wide variety of shades and textures and formulas among the single shadows. Next, we have the Chroma Light Single Shadows from Moira, and Moira has a lot of very affordable products, similar to the way that Beauty Creations does, but they have a much kind of larger selection of sparkly products than does Beauty Creations. They aren't all hits, but there are definitely a lot of very high quality products. The texture doesn't feel emollient. They're very sparkly. You get some chrome shifts in a lot of the shades. Definitely a formula that I could full-heartedly recommend for an affordable price point. I think I had one person ask me about which I'd recommend more, the Moira or the Beauty Creations. For that, I honestly think it's going to come down to your shade preference because they both have great formulas, but they offer different shades in general. Another formula I tried this year is the Queen Cosmetics Single Shadows, and they had come out with single shadows, I want to say it's a couple years ago, but they this year came out with 4 or 5 very sparkly neutral shadows, including this intense silver shade. The shade that I'm demoing is actually another shade in the range. These are so incredibly shiny and sparkly. The only thing is that they do have a little bit of emollients to them. I'm not sure if that would cause creasing on some people, but potentially it could. The other thing is that they are sold with these little heart compacts, but they do offer these shadows on their own. And pretty cool, but you can actually buy Queen at Ulta now. Alright, I talked recently all about Mob Beauty capsule palettes in a recent video, but I wanted to spotlight their powder shimmer shadows. This is the shimmer shade from the Trad Goth palette that was done in collaboration with Jessica Hayes. I think the shimmers in the recent Mob palettes have really been a step up. And to the point where I genuinely look forward to using them. They're not going to have the exact same type of impact as an indie single shadow shimmer, but they definitely hold their own. They're very user-friendly. You don't get any fallout with them. And it makes me excited to see what powder shimmer shadows they'll come out with in the future. And also, any single shadow you can choose to purchase on their own. You don't have to purchase the whole palette. All right, next formula I'm going to talk about is the shimmer shadows from Terra Moons. And honestly, you can make a whole video about all of these indie brands that have single shadows because they have so many beautiful shades and formulas. The shade that I'm showing here is called Doppler Blue. It's a beautiful semi-sheer blue shade that has so much glow. I had to try it as a highlighter. Now, if you enjoy trying shades that have very unique shifts to them, especially duochrome and multichrome shifts, and shades that have a lot of sparkle, then I do recommend trying Terra Moons. And if you like glowy blues like I do, then I definitely recommend this shade. Next formula I have is Clionadh, and I feel the same way about Clionadh single shadows as I do about Terra Moons. There's so many offerings. This is the shade Gargoyle, which is one of their jeweled light multichromes. I have so many favorites in this particular category, and Gargoyle Light is my most favorite. Something that sets Clionadh apart from a lot of brands, in my opinion, is that I find that the texture of the shades is very approachable to a wider audience. And of course, there are differences in the textures from category to category, and of course with the more glittery shades I would always recommend using some type of a primer, but in general for very sparkly and shifty shades the textures are going to be by and large pretty approachable. Next we have to talk about the Touch of Glam Hollows, and I've tried these for years now. I want to say probably 5 years I've tried Touch of Glam Hollows. This is the shade Gargoyle Hollow. It happens to be my favorite hollow shade that they have. But if you want to try a truly intense hollow, I definitely recommend checking out the ones from Touch of Glam. But these are definitely shadows for a bright sunny day. You're not going to get the same magical effect on a cloudy day when you're not going to be in some type of bright light. Last but not least, we have some handmade shadows from a creator on Instagram that I've gotten to know. They're called Gary Cosmetics. They're based in China, and they make some truly unique shadows. The only thing is currently there isn't a website, so you have to do a transaction over PayPal. But I do believe they're working on creating a website. So if I learn anything about that, I will definitely let you all know. These shadows are all handmade. They incorporate some very special pigments. And with each and every shadow, you just feel like you're kind of buying a piece of art. Now, these shadows are a little bit pricey, so I'm quite content just having a few, but I really had to mention them because they are special, they're beautiful, they're unique, and they're clearly a labor of love. Alright, I thought it would be impossible to talk about single shadows that I tried in 2025 in one video, but I think we found a way of doing that. I would love to hear in the comments if you've tried any of these formulas, what you think about them, and if you tried any other formulas this year that you truly loved or that maybe you didn't love. I've done dedicated videos for a lot of the formulas we talked about today. I'm going to put those down in the description box as well as links to the products and if I have any discount codes. As always, I really hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.